Hello, John.
Hello, hello.
Very exciting to be interviewing you. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. I've been looking forward to it.
I want to pick your brain because you read so many books. I heard you read actually more than 30,000 books. So you've been researching since you're 17. You had this huge breakthrough. And since then, you've been like craving new knowledge and sharing it with millions of people. So it's very exciting for me to be interviewing you. You're an author, you're a world-renowned specialist on the human behavior. And I guess a lot of people are going to you to ask for advice because this current situation is unheard of. We're facing these uncertain times. It's totally unknown to us what's happening, and for you, these are some of the principles that actually makes life exciting. So I want to hear, how is it? What is for you this crisis really about?
Well, no matter what happens to us, we have control over three things: our perceptions, our decisions, and our actions. And regardless of what happens in the external world, that doesn't necessarily have to perturb our internal world if we master the skills of seeing things on the way, not in the way. And the quality of our life is based on the quality of the questions we ask. So if we ask a new set of questions, we will discover unconscious information on how this experience, the COVID experience, which I call Saint COVID too.
You call what?
I call it Saint COVID.
Saint COVID.
Because there's a lot of blessings that are coming in from it too. A lot of people are transforming their businesses in more efficient ways and keeping up with current technologies and many of things. But if we ask the question, how specifically is our current reality helping us fulfill our mission? And not run the story of being victims of history, but be masters of destiny for just a moment. How specifically is what our current reality is, the facts, helping us fulfill our mission? And if we answer that question and don't stop, we'll overcome this resistance to what's happening and all of a sudden go, oh, and creative ideas will start coming into our consciousness. I sent out a letter back in March to students around the world, to everybody to write down the upsides and the blessings that are actually at hand. 17,000 of them came in. Now, a lot of them were the same, so I started filtering through this because there's a lot of them. And there was a lot of amazing opportunities that were emerging. And a lot of people were wanting to go online and now were pushed to go online. And they expedited their technology. They got closer to families and they started making a list of all the things that they were to do. And they found out that they get by on less cost. There's tremendous opportunities sitting there. Some were sitting there and expecting the world to take care of them. And they actually realized that they had to care about humanity enough to find out what people need and find a way of serving them and generate new sources of income. And there's been lots of blessings. So I'm a firm believer that it's not what happens to us, it's what we decide to do with it. William James said that over 120 years ago. The greatest discovery of his generation is that human beings can alter their lives by altering their perceptions and attitudes of mind. So the first thing is to how specifically. See, if you compare this current reality to a fantasy of how it used to be, or a fantasy about how you wish it would be, you won't get grounded right now and ask, how is what's currently happening helping me fulfill my mission? And if I'm not clear on my mission, then by God, it's time to get clear about what you want to dedicate your energies to.
That's what I was going to ask. Yeah, many people don't know, actually, we're not living their life mission. And this is, you're saying, kind of forcing us or inspiring us to live it.
To decide, because if you don't fill your day with the highest priority actions at any moment that inspire you, your day is designed to fill up with low priority distractions that don't. So you're not a victim of what's going on around you. You're simply not prioritizing and utilizing the resources you have today. There was a gentleman who had a great little quote. What is the greatest contribution I can make today with the resources that I see within my consciousness? in the most efficient and effective manner, in a way that serves as many people as possible and that inspires me. Because you ask quality questions, you end up with perceiving things you don't normally see, and there's always opportunity.
You mean if we focus? You mean if we focus on paying the bills and surviving, this is what we're gonna get out of life?
Well, the thing is anytime you have debt, it's wise to reduce the debt down. First of all, write down all the blessings you've received from being in debt, because you obviously spent money and got something out of it, or you wouldn't be in debt. Write down what you did, because when you're grateful for that, it's easier to pay back. When you resent it, you don't want to have to make the money for it. Then chunk the debt down into small bites. Break it down to how much you pay per year, per month, per week, per day, per hour. And then once you find out how much it is per hour, convert it over to units of product or service sales and focus on serving people. It's called servicing the debt. And if you focus on servicing people, your debt goes away. If you focus on the debt, your service goes away. You have to focus on the service, because that's what inspires you, making a difference in people's lives and contributing to their life and getting the rewards of watching transformation. But if you focus on the debt and all the problems grow. If you focus on the solutions, the problems disappear and the solutions grow. So always convert your debt into service and focus on service. And always focus on what is possible, not what's the problem. Because if you're problem oriented, I'm not saying don't look at the problem, but ask, how can I use this to my greatest advantage? Bucky Fuller said it beautifully when he said that pollution is future's solution. It sounds crazy. What they used to call pollution in the 1950s is now a resource that's been used by bacteria, and resource that's been recycled and reformatted. And what we once were worried about is no longer a concern. And some of the things we see now will no longer be concerned. And it's a slingshot effect. Right now, you may feel, oh my God, there's tension. But once it's released, there'll be an acceleration. And so it's wise to think long-term, focus on what your life really demonstrates is meaningful and inspiring to you, what you spontaneously love doing to serve people, and focus on service. I said at a church one time, which is an interesting place, I said, if you're poor, it's because you're not caring about humanity enough to get off your butt and serve people.
Whoa.
And at first they went, whoa.
Uh-huh.
I said, but think about it. If you're focusing on your own problems and you're not caring about people and finding a way to directly or indirectly serve them, you're not really going and doing something that makes a contribution. You're making an assumption about what people need, but you're not actually finding out what they need and serving them. When you do, there's an unlimited supply of economics. So when there's a change like COVID, there's a shift, and our job is to be resilient and adaptable enough to find out the new needs and find out how to give more services according to those needs. There's never a lack of opportunities. Even in the COVID, I guarantee you I've been meeting people that have come up with absolutely creative solutions for new problems that they see, because they're caring enough to look for them instead of just dwelling on the problem.
But most of the time, the ideas don't come from a brainy process, from they just appear like that. A lot of us are searching through our brain capacity, let's say, new solution, but you're not. It's not coming from there. Where is this genius coming from? Can we speak about this genius?
The genius, we have what is called the forebrain and the hindbrain. The hindbrain is the amygdala and below. And it's a reflex system. It avoids predator, seeks prey, avoids pain, seeks pleasure. So we go into our sympathetic mode when we're frightened and panic. And panic is not because of what's actually occurring. Panic is based on what we assume is about to occur. So it's just our fabrication. But if we focus on what's priority, that serves people, that inspires us, and look for problems that we can solve, we don't attract problems we can't. And we end up focusing on making a difference, which inspires us and gets the blood glucose and oxygen into the forebrain. And the forebrain has inspired vision. It has strategic planning. It comes up with creativity. It does assessments properly, and it wants to act. And it calms down the emotions that are scattering us and distracting us. It allows us to think enough clearly And in that state, like in a meditative state, all these ideas come. But it comes from thinking about the service. It doesn't come from worrying about the problem. It comes from thinking about, how do I serve people right now? And I had a lady the other day that was just losing it, just freaking out because she didn't have the bills. She had the bills, she didn't have the money to pay the bills. She had kids and she was barely getting by it. And I said, what have you done to think about what you can do to serve? You're bitching about you don't have your job, but that job may not come back for a year. So you can't just keep relying on the world out there to take care of you. You have to think about what you can do to take care of the world. And she stopped a minute. I said, so what is your talent? What is your skills? What is it you have that can be an offer? And she got creative for a moment. And in 15 minutes of dialogue, she got an incredible idea of what she could be doing with her skills. And then she said, she got teary-eyed and she said, I've thought about this, but I haven't had the courage to do it. But when I think about it, this is the perfect opportunity to do it. I got really nothing to lose. I had too comfortable a job and I would never go and do it because it was a risk versus reward. Right now, the risk of doing it is very little and the reward could be potentially greater than what I had. I said, now you're talking, you're now having a focus on a solution orientation. And she got really inspired. She started writing down ideas and she started taking action. And her energy changed, her creativity changed, her optimism came back. So running the story of how it's not working is not going to get you anywhere.
Is it like a form of prayer, of mantra, of saying, I want to serve, please help? Is it inward, outward? Is it a conversation you're having?
There's no outside out there. People think it's outside out there. You are inseparable from the outside. It's you. Your inner voice. I said on The Secret years ago, when the voice and the vision on the inside is louder than all things on the outside, you begin to master your life. People are waiting for somebody to rescue them. They want to blame problems on the outside. They want to find solutions on the outside. It ain't out there. It's right inside here. And what happens is, people are so used to offloading their decisions to others and be told what to do and live by duty instead of design. And this is the perfect opportunity by the COVID to help us start to live by design, to live ontologically by our essence of being instead of deontologically by the conformity of duty. So it's an opportunity. It's not a crisis unless somebody chooses to play the victim of history and not a master of destiny.
So how can we reframe this? What conversation what conversation are we into that would be more empowering?
The simple question, because the questions we ask make us cognizant and conscious of unconscious potential. So how specifically is what's happening right now helping me achieve what I want in life? What's really important to me? And look at what your life really demonstrates is truly important to you. Your life is demonstrating it. And what is it you can do that be of service? I'm amazed at, we sit there and we look at people like Elon Musk that's gone and done amazing things, okay? But why has he done amazing things? Because he's an individual who cares to find a solution to major problems. And people who focus on trying to solve problems in the world go amazing places. People trying to avoid problems keep attracting problems they don't want.
But then here again, in his example for the Tesla, he's being very much criticized because of an electric car with the batteries and the car itself, and how much energy it takes to build it, and now how big it is and how heavy it is, how much it's not ecologically sustainable.
But he takes the next problem, whatever the problem is, and then he finds the next solution. We're not ever going to get without problems. There's no such thing as a life without problems. But if you don't choose the problems that inspire you, you keep getting stuck with the problems that don't. You're going to have a conservation of problems. You might as well go after. So the most fulfilling problems there are in life are the ones that make you feel fulfilled serving other people. And I don't mean altruistically. I mean in sustainable, fair exchange manner. But going out and you know what it's like. You've been serving millions of people for a long time.
And I've received abundantly. And I've received abundantly, and I'm definitely an example of all these principles working. The more I serve, the more I've received.
Well, then, so when people are stuck financially, they stop serving. Get out and focus on what you can do to make a
Is
difference in
that
people's lives.
is that true, or is that more like we think we were at service but we were not really, and it takes us to the next level of serving? Because I feel
It,
like
it,
once you're really on it, then it's just
but the thing is, we can serve directly to a customer, or we can serve indirectly through a company. But our security is never based on a company. Our security is based on producing more than we cost, ultimately to the client. So if we're sitting there thinking, well, the company's supposed to make me secure, that's illusion. The thing that makes you secure is producing more than you cost and developing a skill that truly is needed in society. And nature forces us to do that. One way or the other, we have to learn how to make sure we care enough about people to really meet people's needs. And when we do, like you say, there's an abundance of opportunities that come. And if we don't, we get feedback from the universe to let us know. And
that's a
so
major let go. That's a major. It brings up a lot of fears to take such a step.
but if we don't plan our life and mitigate the fears in advance, we are dealing with reactions because we didn't have foresight. Foresight takes us through that and predicts things and plans things. And hindsight is reacting aftermath. So if you're sitting there in the aftermath, to stop and focus on what you can do to serve right now. And it's not about, life's not about comfort. It's not about, I want my life to be easy. You look, to where you've gotten, you put in the hours.
Oh
You
yeah.
put in and challenge yourself. You put in and had to learn. You had to study. You had to interview and put in hours and learn technologies. And you didn't. It's not easy. My life's not easy. I've been studying for 48 years. I've been teaching 48 years now. And it's not about that. It's about finding out what you really love to do and giving yourself permission to go after it and make sure it's done in a way that really serves people.
Yeah.
And then work doesn't feel like work. You feel like you're graced to be able to do what you love doing, serving people. But it's not designed to be easy. If life was designed to be hedonistically, pleasure without pain, that'd be like taking heroin and cocaine all day long. And you can't do that without a side effect. Well,
Yeah,
I'm
but
not.
we do have limiting beliefs. How do you deal with that?
But the limited beliefs are as a result of who we subordinate to. So anytime we compare ourselves to others and put them on a pedestal, we're going to inject some of their values into our life and try to live in their values. And we hear should and supposed to and got to and have to and must and ought to. These are all injected imperatives coming from an outside source. And whenever we compare ourselves to others and put them on a pedestal and inject those values, we try to live by their values. And like Einstein said, a cat trying to live like a fish is going to end up failing at swimming, and you're going to beat yourself up. We're not here to compare ourselves to others. We're here to compare our actions to what's really most important to us and measure our achievement based on how congruent we are with what's meaningful to us and that serves the people we want to serve. That's what we want to compare, not compare it to what other people have or don't have or how they are. Because the moment we put people in pedestals or put them in pits and don't put them in our hearts, we're not going to be authentic ourselves. Because if we look down at people, we're going to exaggerate ourselves. That's not who we are. That's a facade. And if we look up to people, we're going to minimize ourselves, and that's a facade. But when we look across and realize that whatever we see in them, we have within us, it's reflective. And now our job isn't to compare or compare our own actions to what's truly meaningful to us on a daily basis. I focus on what's the highest priority actions that I can do each day, which is, in my case, teaching and researching. The rest of mine is delegated. I give everything else off. I hire people to do what they love doing that I want to delegate so I can get on to do what I do. And when people learn to do that, they can move in the direction of an inspired life and a very abundant life.
Some people meet different levels of success. I mean, you're what we could call ultra abundant, or you live on this ship of multi.
Yes, but I think I lived on the streets when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember going into diners and getting saltine crackers and ketchup for dinner and sleeping on vents and outside buildings. So I didn't start there. what I did is I learned slowly but surely what transformed that position to a new position. And if you're willing to work and you're willing to serve, you can go anywhere with your position.
But I've
There's no,
seen a
it's
lot
not
of
because
friends
he's
that
special.
did. I've seen a lot of friends that did amazing projects and really inspiring to serve the world. But it's and really putting a lot of energy in it, and it's not kicking off for themselves
If it's,
until they get
it's, a,
external.
it's an assumption that it's serving. There's a difference between making presumptions of what the world needs and projecting our assumptions onto the world. Don't go anywhere, and finding out what the world wants to buy. See, if you care about people, you're going to want to ask questions to find out what they need. Selling is not telling what they need. And so many entrepreneurs, they get a great idea that they think serves them. They think, oh, the world needs this. And they have a false attribution kind of thing. But finding out what it really needs, where there's a demand, and then supplying that demand is where the abundance comes. It doesn't come from projection and assumption. It comes from real introspection at yourself and what do you really want to do and what is it the world not really wants.
So
And
it's really
finding
about listening.
yes, it's about listening to the real needs of people. When I present a new program, if I didn't meet the needs of people, it doesn't do well. If I meet the needs, it flourishes. So it's not any special power. It's my caring enough to make sure that I adjust and meet those needs. And when they do, then there's abundance.
Some spiritual people have a hard time with this, to
Everybody's
really.
spiritual, Lilou. Everybody's spiritual.
Yes.
Everybody's spiritual. There's no such thing as spiritual people and non-spiritual people.
Could it be a hideaway? Could it be a place where some people hide themselves to not really fully fulfill on their real life mission?
Yeah, sometimes they dissociate from the challenges of life and kind of go into an esoteric dissociation fantasy world, thinking that's spirituality. Can I share a story? Do I have time to share a little story?
Yes.
So I had this lady that came to me. Well, she was attending a program, and she said, "What do you do when your husband's not spiritual?" And I said, "There is no such thing." And she said, "Well, my husband is a materialist." And I said, "No, your husband has spirituality in his values. You have yours in yours." Well, I meditate and I pray and I do incense and I do this and I chant and I that. And I said, "Let me explain something to you. Does he run a company?" "Yes." "How many employees does he have?" 200. It's an IT company. So he's serving how many people? Well, millions around the world. I said, his commitment to what is valuable to him, that's making a contribution to millions of people, is his spiritual contribution. And yours is capable of being yours because he's funding you. Because you're not working. So you're not more spiritual. You have a spirituality in your form based on your values, which are complementary to his values, which is a contribution business. If he wasn't doing his work and he wasn't in the equation, you'd be out having to work. And she goes, "Well, that's true." I said, "So don't think he's less spiritual. Everybody has spirituality based on what their values are. Some raise beautiful families, some go great businesses, some social causes, some education, some physical fitness, some political things, some esoteric sciences and philosophy. It's all spiritual. Where's the divine not? How can the divine be over here but not over here? It's all spiritual. So we have to be careful about projecting a label and then thinking, well, I can't do it unless it's spiritual according to my values, because then I'm not meeting other people's needs.
And you're saying also that it's that too will pass. It means that this what we're going through right now and all this will at some point. It's not going to last forever.
No. Right now, there's going to be medical interventions. They'll have probably vaccines for people. Some people will just build up immune systems to it. We're talking about 1% of the population that are actually being affected by it. So 99% of the people aren't really being seriously affected by it. So the reality is that this will pass, and I'm glad it's happening because there's a tremendous amount of innovation and creativity and opportunities that are going on in people's lives for people who have an attitude of asking, how can I use this to my greatest advantage?
Yeah. I want to give a personal example here because this is something that happened to me 2, 3 weeks ago as I posted online on Facebook, social media, a post about a documentary here called Hold Up, in France, which is kind of controversial, a bit like Thrive, bringing, things about really reclaiming our authority. Um, and Facebook posted their like big media information on top of my post, and the next thing I know is that I'm sick. I'm sick probably with COVID as we're speaking right now towards the end of it because I went through for it for 2 weeks, and I felt my immune system like the shock of being not attacked, but of like being intrude in the intimacy, in my communication, created like, could you explain to us how it works on a health, because I know you've studied health as well. What happened there in that moment, because we there's so much fear on the big media and outside of us, and in an instant we can get sick, you know so what
Well,
can we do to avoid that, or is it just part of the process? I mean, now I'm grateful because it wasn't that bad and I'm gonna be immune, but
well, that's why I'm saying it's not the end of the world. We can make it bigger than it is, but the reality is we'll all become stronger. There's an old proverb that says if it doesn't kill us, it strengthens us. But the immune system, when there's a perception of predator or attack or challenge or distress, our sympathetic nervous system comes alive. And adrenaline, cortisol, osteocalcin, various chemicals get released in the bloodstream. And for fight or flight mechanisms, we come out of our executive brain, come into our amygdala, and lose some of the higher functions of our immune system. And so we become more vulnerable, particularly if it's prolonged. If it's just an hour or two, maybe not, but if it's prolonged for hours and hours and even days, and we feel hurt in a sense, in our perception, not because of what's happening out there, but because of our perception, we can run down our immune system and we can get sick. I've seen people get into an argument and end up with a flu-like symptoms within 2 hours. I've seen it happen. So our immune system is responding to our perceptions. And if we don't take command of our perceptions and bring them back into balance, and we assume there's more drawbacks and benefits, or more benefits and drawbacks, and get resentful or elated, we throw our autonomics out of whack, and our immune system is affected by it. And then we're more vulnerable. It's not the virility necessarily of the virus. That's usually the case. It's more the host. And that's been known. We've been knowing that for centuries. So wisdom is centering ourselves. If we get disturbed, asking questions to bring us back into balance. Finding meaning in experiences is bringing our mind back into the mean, back into the center. And knowing if we see drawbacks, we need to ask, what are the upsides? And if we see only positives, we need to ask, what's the downsides? Because sometimes we get infatuated and blind by some infatuation. We've all had moments with maybe in a relationship we were blinded. We thought, oh my God, this is going to be amazing, everything. And then we find out, oh, it's a fatal attraction. It's Glenn Close. It's not who we thought. So we're not here to be polarized. We're here to be synthesized. And in that center, in a balanced state, our immune system rallies and it can handle COVID and things like that. It knows exactly what to do with it. But when we get under stress, and sometimes the media, if we listen to the media and get sensated and get polarized and more stressed, and then if we get it, now we're more vulnerable because now we're anxious. No, you'd be wise to go and take a hot tub bath, do a meditation, center, get back to priority, focus on what you can do, read an inspirational book, do what you can to keep your body centered and your immune system, eat wisely, don't live to eat, but eat to live, and care about somebody. Because when we focus on caring about somebody, we rally our immune system.
So keeping the high vibes.
The love vibes.
The love.
Not an excitement, elation, an inspiration. There's a difference. Manic states do not help your immune system because they make manic panic. They go and you get blinded by the downsides when you're manic. And then you get blinded by the upsides when you're panicked. But when you're inspired, you see both sides, and you see things objectively, and you see things for what they are, and you use them wisely. So center yourself. That makes a difference. A Tai Chi set of a Tai Chi would be wiser to do than anything as far as exercise.
I find forgiveness also could work here, forgiving what's happening, and then meaning the heart reopens and then something else takes over.
As long as you don't start with the idea that there's something to forgive in the first place, because that's an illusion. There's nothing out there to forgive ultimately.
Okay.
It was your illusion when you started. I always say the only forgiveness I use is thank you for giving me the experience that I was illusioned by.
Huh.
Because I can go in there and find out the other side of it. And then when I balance it, I don't find anything to forgive in the first place. Because if you have something to forgive, you're still going to be frightened about it in the future if it happens again. I'd rather go find out the blessing of it and where there's nothing there except thank you. Okay. Just thank you. Anything you can't say thank you for is baggage. Anything you can say thank you for is fuel. Gratitude is much wiser than assuming there was a mistake in the universe. I don't find that. We only think we make a mistake when we try to live in other people's values, and we only think other people make a mistake when we project our values and expect them to live in our values. But people make decisions based on their own values. And if we don't care enough about them to find out what they value, and we're narcissistically, self-righteously projecting our values onto them and expecting them to live in our values, we're going to think that they've made a mistake. We're going to think that they betrayed us and all this stuff. And then we're going to think, oh, I need to forgive them. There's nothing there to forgive in the first place. There's something to be grateful for. Go all the way to gratitude and transcend the I'm sorry and I forgive you. Because what you say you're sorry about, you're going to end up doing again. Sorry I'm late, honey. You'll do it again. What you say I forgive you, boy, you're going to keep attracting to your life until you eventually find out there's nothing there to even to forgive in the first place. It was something there it was exactly what you needed on your journey. See it on the way, not in the way. And you transform the so-called polarities into something that become fuel for opportunity.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much, John Demartini. This was really awesome to be speaking with you. I wish it's over 30 minutes. I wish it feels like it was 5. Thank you so much. It was delicious.
You again.
And looking forward to have another conversation. I know you're giving a lot of your seminars now and your teachings through online courses. So you're not traveling anymore as you usually do 365 days a year.
I've done 347 presentations since March online. 47. I do them every day.
Super.
I have three more today. And you know what? When you do something you really love to do, you just do it. So all I can say is that whoever's out there, give yourself permission to do something extraordinary on the planet. Don't compare yourself to somebody else. Compare your daily actions to your own dreams and shine. Don't shrink.
Super. Thank you so much, John. Have an amazing day. And to all delicious co-creators out there, please share this video. This is a feel-good video. More than that, transformational video. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good to see you again.